Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're going to be taking a look at a cannon sword deck. This is something that I used a okay, so we'll go over the start. I used a basis for this deck from Game Press, which came from another guy on Discord that I was talking to, and then I modified the deck based on what I thought I could use and what I thought I would need based on what I'm currently seeing around. So this deck is a little janky. It is definitely not perfect and could probably do with some improvement, especially trying to get support cannon to work completely. Other than that though, it's a quite enjoyable deck to play, especially in unranked, which is probably the best place to play it at the moment. And I hope you have some fun watching these games, so we'll get right into those. Okay, so game 1 is against Blood. Great to see a little bit of blood around, eh? You never can have too many blood players. Said no one in the current meta. Anyway, we start off with the Shield Flame, Amelia, and Albert. You really want to start off with a Cinderella and maybe a Support Cannon or Uriel, just so you have those cards if you feel comfortable with the deck you're versing. Otherwise, aim for the early drops. 2 drops are optimal. Shield of Flame is great for clearing off early game, so aim for those sort of cards. This hand is good for dealing with something like Blood, just because it's pretty strong and effective. This deck doesn't need Support Cannon to work, it's just a fun little combo to pull off when you've got, you know, Cinderella, proc, Support Cannon, returns, all those sort of shenanigans, which we don't get to see too much just because I, you know, didn't manage to pull that sort of combo off a lot. But we do play the Cinderella just to contest whatever the opponent will play out here. Don't want to take too many risks though. So Uriel comes down. Easily, you know, getting the support cannon in hand. Setting up my trade for the Uriel and 4 damage to the Blood player. Bladed Hedgehog also is a really fun little card, which I don't know whether it was this game or the next one. You'll see where he gets pretty crazy if you let him go. So the Blood player, killing off my thing, healing, not really targeting the Cinderella, which is a bonus. Means if I wanted I could get that. So Cinderella luckily requires a sword follower, so you can play that and not have it be returned, which in some ways is good, some ways is bad. For example here, it would have been better to have it returned to my hand so I could loop it, but we kind of just become unfortunate and have to deal with what we get. So we do get the Bladed Hedgehog out, throw out a couple of them just to, you know, threaten them. Just say, hey, you can't deal with my hedgehog's too cute for you. But the Veteran Lancer does quite easily deal with the 1/4. While our Bladed Hedgehog's just to like, yep, I'm going to eat your sword, I'm going to buff up, I'm going to be huge. Fortunately though, we do see Emeralda destroying Support Cannon. Such a pain in the ass when that card does drop down on you. Like I said before, this is just some fun, so if I do stuff up with this deck, don't be too surprised. It's easy to stuff up the Cinderella combos if you accidentally play a follower when you shouldn't play a follower, which I do quite regularly because I'm not used to playing Cinderella. But we do go for the huge Hedgehog buff. Getting a nice evolved Hedgehog. I love his art, it's absolutely astounding. If I had my way, that would be my card back forever. If I could get that cute little Hedgehog art. So yeah, they're on 6, pretty close to lethal range. We have plenty of things to deal with their board. Unfortunately they do get that little heal, but the Hedgehog isn't dealt with this turn, so that's quite fortunate. And they've easily set up for a Saber play, which is nice. That 6/6 Saber fits really nicely with our curve. So our biggest risk is that they get rid of this Hedgehog. Fortunately, playing the Bahamut and having nothing else to follow up really makes my life a little easier, especially when Big Knuckle can't kill the Hedgehog now. Although they could have went for the 6/3 and then traded some way. That would have been an optimal play. Okay, so our next game is also against Blood. We had 2 Blood games in 1 Haven, I believe, maybe? Maybe it wasn't Haven. I can't remember. The last game is a different class though, so stay tuned for that one, where I realized that Support Cannon doesn't quite work the way I thought it did. Anyway, we drop the Albert for something else, aiming for anything that would work with this hand, I guess. We do have both 2 drops, which is nice, and the Maid Leader does pull commanders, so that works in our favour a little bit, pulling anything big to go with support cannon. Luckily we do get the Cinderella. Pretty nice little card, being able to just pull it like that. And double Luminous Mage. Also another card that goes well with Cinderella, Luminous Mage. And also good with support cannon due to the double summon. So we do drop the Cinderella. We're just like, hey, can you deal with it? Can you not deal with it? That's the question here. So I realise it's pretty clearly an aggro bat, which you don't see very often, so it's nice to see a different kind of blood deck. And we can easily deal with that and return Cinderella for full value while defending our board. Probably one of my more enjoyable plays personally, being able to pull those Cinderella back after attacking with it. Unfortunately they go for like the optimal blood play where they can just flood the board with bats and vampires, not really having to worry. But they do trade, and their board is full, so they're not getting that proc off the Vampiric Fortress this turn. And they've allowed me to play Saber, which seems to do okay in the current meta, if you can get it off. The problem is its cost, I guess, for its value, and its ability to be cleared pretty easily, I suppose. That's probably the difficult part about that card. Definitely not bad, though, when you've got Flood type meta. And the Big Knuckle Bodyguard, getting 0 value off its actual ability and only hitting them in the face. Setting that up just for trading. Probably the worst way to have to use that Knuckles Bodyguard. Although Luminous Mage coming down, pretty solid little play, being able to evolve for free, keeping one evolve point for a little bit later in the game, while limiting the bat summons so that they can't have any more bats. Unfortunately though, they do play Vampire Queen. Probably a card you don't see too often when you see aggro-y bat type decks. But I guess a new evolution is needed to compete with the meta, so why not? That, or they just don't have anything else to put in the deck. So they do finally get their Vampiric Fortress proc and a few defensive bats. Well, I have to try and find a way around this. Fortunately, the Monica is 2 damage straight off of it. So playing that on its own with the evolve gets me double kill. I don't mind that sort of play too much when you have to do it, killing off a threat with the Monicas. Plus, we do have Luminous Mage, so we do have access to more evolves in the future. I almost wonder how I made it back from this though, because they really did a lot of damage to me. I suppose it was just a little bit of luck that I needed. Being able to get that Cinderella out. And then deciding to go for the Luminous Mage just so it can have a little bit more health to survive anything else that is a threat to it. Plus it avoids them having to target Cinderella, which I want to use. And then they concede, so that's why I won, because they obviously run out of damage. Couldn't get that last little bit. So I was right, the last game is against Haven. Changing things up a little bit. This game was actually a lot more interesting. I actually got support cannon to work in the way I wanted it to work, and not just as a gimmicky sort of play, which is really nice. We trade off the other 2 cards for something better. We managed to draw into a double Cinderella Uriel combo. I didn't quite get to use the recycle Cinderella with Cinderella combo that I would have liked to have done, but this does work pretty well. So we haven't drawn into a support cannon as well. Turning our curve out pretty well, honestly, you know, 2, 3, 4, and then into 5, into another 3 if we choose to. Along with Shield of Flames to deal with any kind of threat. Like that. That we really need to get rid of. Shield of Flame is an amazing card. I think it's a lot better than a lot of the other 2 cost 3 damage things. Just because even if you boost it with any kind of ambush, which Sword has a lot of different options, even just as a one-offs, you can really do some damage. So we draw our extra support cannon, just thinning out the deck a little bit and making sure we have all of them in our hand. Why not? We've got turn 4, so we may as well have done it. while the Haven keeps healing itself, making it harder and harder for me to get eventual damage. I decide just to hit face, not worry about it. This support cannon and the Cinderella combos should work fine. Opening up a few options for us. So we get 4 damage, killing off the 2-4. Plus, I decided to go with the Evolve this time. Killing the Judge was pretty important. Plus, I can easily just return this. It was probably pointless, honestly, to return. It made no difference whatsoever. I really probably just wasted 3 points. I could have just played the Lyriel and tried to off their damage. But I guess, you know, a play is a play. You're not always going to be perfect, especially in the moment when playing with a deck. So give that more healing, just boosting themselves up. We, on the other hand, really don't care. So I go for the support cannon. I think, yeah, we got the evolves, why not spend them? Get a little bit more damage to their face and put more to the board. 2 support cannons are great. Now, the unfortunate thing about support cannon, which you will probably see in a moment, is that when you use support cannon and you play another commander along with it, and there's a follower on board, it doesn't proc twice. Unless that follower obviously has over 4 health, which is what I had with Cinderella, but as long as it has over the health that you're damaging, I guess. I really couldn't work that out very well, because if you watch this, I assumed I would have done 8 damage to their face, because that should trigger, then the next trigger, but obviously the triggering order is 1, 2, 3, even though you've just killed the one on board, and then death. So they've all procced before the death does, so it's a little bit of a pain. At first I wondered if it was just that one support cannon was the only thing that could function, but then I thought that'd be really bad, so lucky it's not the case, and when there is nothing on board you do get the full proc of every support cannon in a row. So unfortunately they had the priest, which meant I couldn't really do anything, and support cannon only got 1 proc again. This time though I'm able to deal 10 damage to their face. And they go for the In-Statue Seraph, which is always amazing. Luckily though, having literally nothing else to play for them, they can't really do too much at all. And they played nothing on board, meaning any of my commanders here will kill them due to triple support cannon. So as long as they have a clear board, triple support cannon does work, allowing you to deal a large amount of damage. So final thoughts on this deck. There is definitely a lot that can be improved. I would definitely trade out certain things in this deck. Maybe swap paladins for something that I find a little more effective. Definitely swap the frontal guards for probably Gwaines and things like that if I had them. That's the main reason I didn't have these in this deck. I don't have Gwaines and I don't have Roland, which made that a little hard to build around. So I focused more on the aggressive early curve here and dealing with early threats so I could set up for the support cannon in the future, along with the saber as a wall and things like that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button and subscribe. Check out the deck list in the description below, along with any other information that would be relevant. And I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.